You've spelunked into the Matt Cave. Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Matt Cave. Thank you all so much for spelunking on by. This week, there's not that much to talk about, but that's okay. I'm still here, and it'll still be worth listening to. I promise you that. So in the sports realm, not much. We still have Real Salt Lake playing their games, and they surprised me earlier in the week, and then they reverted back to form. I'll talk about the two games that they played this week against Cincinnati and Portland, and they did something for the first time since 2017. It's been 8 years since they've done something. I'll let you know what that is here in a little bit. And then after that, a little update about the Mammoth, just a funny one. It's not a terribly serious one. And then what's coming out this year as far as video games are concerned, because this year, a lot of games got pushed back. I'll talk to you about why and why this year seems a little light. So I'll get into that a little bit too. So thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you are in the state of Utah, I hope you have a great and wonderful Days of 47, July 24th. For those of you outside of Utah, July 24th is the basically state birthday for the state of Utah. So it's a big deal for a lot of us Utahns here. So I hope you have a great day and a wonderful time celebrating with family, friends, found family, whatever it is. So, and as always, please like, review, comment, subscribe, wherever it is, however you listen. And then I have a challenge for you, my spelunkers. Share it with one person that you think would enjoy the program. It would help me out a lot, and you know, you already helped me out a lot. So this is just one more ask, just one person that you think, coworker, friend, family member, just one person. Share it over to them. I'd appreciate it. All right, let's dive into it. So let's start with Real Salt Lake. So they have played 2 games the past 2 weeks. So 2 games a week. So 4 games total in the past 2 weeks. That's a lot, but they needed to make up some ground because of the Gold Cup. International breaks throw the league scheduling into kind of a flux, so they have to play catch up. And a little word on that. Something I don't know how it's going to work out, but I do like it overall, is Dan Garber, one of the worst commissioners in all of sports, but he's who we have for MLS, has been talking with the Players Union about potentially changing the schedule from a summer schedule to be more in line with the rest of world football, which means fall, winter, spring, and then off for the summer. I don't know how that'll go for ratings, because in America, you're going to be going up against, American football, and then you're going to be going up against basketball, and, hockey. So, and then you also have the tail end of baseball season is when you're going to kick off the season. It's a lot to go up against as far as ratings go, but if you've seen the moves that Garber and the ownership of the MLS teams have done, they don't really care about viewership, I guess, because why are you exclusively on Apple TV? Nobody has Apple TV. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. If they do move it that way to be more in line with the world, I think it would be a good move as far as talent development and then the rest of the world taking the league seriously, instead of looking at MLS as either a retirement home or a warm-up league for some of these veterans. Like Olivier Giroud, one of the all-time great French strikers, played in MLS for a couple of months and then is going back to Europe. So that's kind of where MLS is right now. Marco Reus of the German, former EA Sports FIFA cover athlete, by the way, he also is considering a move back to Europe because he plays for the stinky LA Galaxy. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Anyway, I digressed a little bit. Real Salt Lake, 2 games this week. First, against Portland on Wednesday, they went to Oregon for this game. And for the first time since 2017, Real Salt Lake leaves Oregon with a victory. Yeah, I was just as shocked as everyone else. 1-0 to Real Salt Lake on that one. Diogo Gonçalves got a goal, his 3rd of the season. Probably the most unlucky attacker in MLS. He has so many shots on goal. He gets so many per game. He gets 3 or 4 shots on goal per game, and he only has 3 goals. So he needs to figure it out here. But it seems like he started to when in the game against Portland. Portland was without a couple of their first-team choices in the attacking third, but, when you're having a season like Real Salt Lake, we'll take anything we can get at this point. So Portland is in the top half of the Western Conference. They are currently sitting in, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th? So not necessarily the best team in the West, but still. And doing something you haven't done in 8 years is also impressive, especially during a season where Real Salt Lake has been very poor. Their form has not been good. So that pushed them to 5 games unbeaten, 4 wins and 1 draw. It's pretty darn good for that run, no matter who they were up against. Last week I was talking about who they were up against. Yeah, it was bottom of the barrel, teams that were around Real Salt Lake, but those are games you have to win anyway. No matter what the season is, no matter how you're playing, you have to win those games if you want to make the playoffs. And so they move up to 28 points on the season. It pushed them in front of FC Dallas and Houston Dynamo to put them 6th from the bottom. So that they are in the thick of it, kind of, when it comes to playoff positioning. Because with Portland, they are sitting at 34 points and sitting in 6th. So that's 2 wins for Real Salt Lake, because a win gets you 3 points, a draw gets you 1. Cool. Flash forward to Saturday against FC Cincinnati at home. FC Cincinnati is in first place in the Eastern Conference. So they are the class of the Eastern Conference, ahead of teams like New York City FC, Inter Miami, Nashville, Columbus Crew, like cream of the crop. Cincinnati is at the top. So in the game, Real Salt Lake actually looked really good for 95% of the game. They were attacking really well. They outshot Cincinnati 17-14, 7-3 when it comes to shots on goal. And if you are just a stat line junkie, you would assume, all right, Real Salt Lake probably won this one 3-1, 4-1. No, Real Salt Lake lost 1-0. So it's frustrating because you think this team is starting to do something good, and then you want to see how they do against top competition. And so they had that warm-up against Portland. They did something they haven't done in 8 years by winning in Oregon. They come home. Expectations are high. It was a sellout. I refuse to call it what it is, at the Riot. And it looked like it was going to be a good game. Diego Luna was flying around the field. Diogo Gonçalves was getting in good positions to get on goal. Even William Agata, Johnny Russell, they all had opportunities to get Real Salt Lake ahead. And then in the 87th minute, Luca Oriano of FC Cincinnati hit a wonder strike in the top right corner of the net that no human being could have saved. It was I put the fault at the wingback for not pressuring the guy sooner. And so Real Salt Lake falls at home again, 1-0. What does that mean moving forward? Well, coming up, Real Salt Lake has a very big game as far as positioning in the Western Conference this coming Saturday on the 26th against San Jose. San Jose is currently 1 point ahead of Real Salt Lake. And if Real Salt Lake gets this win, depending on what happens with Colorado and Austin FC, that could pull them into 7th place in the Western Conference, which means playoffs. Jim Mora Sr. is screaming in my head, playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? But yeah, that's kind of how bad the Western Conference is this year. Because we're in the Eastern Conference, Real Salt Lake is not sniffing the playoffs. They're not even close. But in the West, yeah. And then the other thing that's ringing in my head is Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance? Well, there is a chance. I still don't think Real Salt Lake has the legs to do it, especially with all of the speculation surrounding Diego Luna. There's multiple teams in Spain interested in him because he is a fluent Spanish speaker. So the transition to La Liga would be fine. And there's even teams in England, not in the Premier League, but in the Championship, which is the league just below, that are interested in him as well. And then there's teams in Germany and Italy. So there's a lot of interest. His agent has said he's fielding a lot of calls from teams interested in Diego Luna in Europe. So that's really good news for the U.S. men's national team, but not great news for Real Salt Lake. I'll keep you all posted on what's going on with Diego Luna as we go along here. But as it stands, Real Salt Lake goes 1-0-1 on the week, and they really should have beaten Cincinnati. That takes the wind out of the sails as we head into a very crucial game this coming Saturday against San Jose. All right. Next up, Utah Mammoth. It's just a quick, funny update. On ESPN.com, they have finally updated the Mammoth from the Utah Hockey Club. They updated the logo almost instantly. As soon as the Utah Mammoth unveiled or unleashed the logo on us, ESPN had the new logo up immediately. But it took until middle of July for them to update from Hockey Club to Mammoth. So it's just a funny thing that it took them so long. So everything's updated on ESPN.com. There's not really much news outside of that. Jack McBain, I told you all last week, he secured a 5-year deal. They avoided arbitration. So the young core is locked up, except for Logan Cooley. And they are currently in contract negotiations. And they don't need to be fast with those because Logan Cooley still has this entire season under contract, under his rookie deal. So all of the fans that I'm seeing online are freaking out about it. Chill. There's plenty of time for the teams to come together to make a deal, and both sides want him to remain in Utah. So just chill, okay? It's not the end of the world that Logan Cooley is the only piece that's not locked in. We're good. All right. Now, that really does it for sports talk because I refuse to talk about the NBA Summer League. It is a nothing burger. You can't glean anything from that, air quotes, showcase. It's just a waste of time. Outside of NBA front offices and scouts and coaching staffs, there's nothing that happens in the NBA Summer League that has any indication on what the rosters are going to look like come training camp in September. I can guarantee you that. All right, so let's move on. Video games coming out this year. So I'm going to start with why it seems light this year when it comes to games coming out in the second half of the year, in quarters 3 and 4. It's because everyone expected Grand Theft Auto 6 to come out in September of this year. Every studio, even the console owners of Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, they all expected Grand Theft Auto 6 to come out this September. Earlier this year, Rockstar pushed that date back, which I'm fine with. Push it back, get the game right. Whatever. Grand Theft Auto isn't really my cup of tea. I'm not really into those kinds of games. I play them, don't get me wrong, but it's not, it's no Pokemon. Let's be real here. So that's why there's not many games coming out this year. But I'm here to tell you that there are 6 games coming out over the next 5 months that I'm really looking forward to playing. So the first one I want to talk about is Borderlands 4. I've talked about it before. I love the Borderlands series of games. To me, there's not a single dud of a game. And I'm not talking about the tales of, if you remember, like, the Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us, like those Telltale game series. I'm not talking about those. Even though Tales from the Borderlands is actually really fun. It's a good narrative and it's a good time. But Borderlands 1, 2, pre-sequel, 3, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands are all great games. They all are in their own way. The worst of them all, in my opinion, is the first Borderlands. And even then, that's a 9 out of 10 for me. That's if I were still doing an out of 10 sort of rating system, it would be 9 out of 10. Every single one of these games is a buy it. Now, caveat. This is a very mature game. Humor, art style, graphics, gore, all of it, very M for mature. So, parents, if you're listening, don't get this for your kids. But 1, 2, 3, pre-sequel, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I'm looking forward to Borderlands 4. I really am. So that is the game that I'm looking forward to, like number one, even with a new Pokemon game coming out this year, it's Borderlands 4. This one is scheduled for September 12th. Randy Pitchford, the head of the studio, has said he's not pushing it back. It's coming out. It'll be $69.99 as the retail price. There are 2 other editions for you to get. There's the Uber Big Time Edition that I pre-ordered when I had a job. That's $129.99. Comes with Season Pass, so you get all the DLC that they will release for it. For included, not for free, but included. And then the other one doesn't have the Season Pass, but it has extra bonuses, which is $89.99, and then you have the base game at $69.99. This is a get it game for me. It's a get it. All right, so the other games that I'm looking forward to, I'm going to end with Pokemon. The other ones I'm looking forward to here, not me personally for this next one, but for a lot of you out there, this is a really big one. Gears of War Reloaded is going to launch August 26th, so we're about a month away from that. I never was into Gears of War. My friends were big time. They loved them. They loved the online multiplayer. They also loved the story, the gameplay. They loved all of it. It just wasn't for me. I'm not into the cover-based shooters as much, and the story just didn't grab me. It's just overall, like the characters, I don't like any of them. But I'm not going to knock you if you enjoy the Gears of War games. And so the reason why I bring this one up is because it was such a big game for my friends back in the day in 2008. But this one is big because it's coming to PlayStation as well. And so if you've never owned an Xbox or a PC, and you've always been interested in why Gears of War is such a big game for the Xbox community, it's coming out. And it's coming out $39.99, so it's not going to be a new game price. It's $39.99. And then it's also going to be included day one if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass. So there you go. Get the game. If you've been interested in this game series at all, interested in the story or the gameplay, get it. Why Cliff Bleszinski is considered one of the best game developers ever. This is his brainchild. This is his baby. Get it. Me personally, even though I have PC Game Pass, I'm not getting it. It's included with what I've got. I'm still not going to dedicate any of my hard drive space to it, but I'm not going to tell you not to. This is definitely one to try. All right, so that's 2 of the 6 coming out. Another one is Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. So Wu Chang Fallen Feathers is not made by the same studio as Black Myth Wukong, but it's another Souls-like game from China. And this one, I watched some of the gameplay. I've watched a boss fight. I've listened to some of the music that they have in it. It's a very intriguing game. Now, I don't have a job, so I can't get the game, but I will be watching a couple of my favorite streamers play this game so I can get an idea of what it's like. I'm very interested in it, just like I'm very interested in Black Myth Wukong. I don't know if my brand new system can run Black Myth Wukong. That's how resource intensive that game is. But overall, these games look very interesting. They are Souls-like, so they are going to be difficult. They are going to be epic boss fights. But there is a caveat with Wu Chang that I don't have with Wukong or with like Elden Ring or anything like that. It's in the combat for this game. It doesn't feel like there's oomph. Like when you hit something, it doesn't feel like anything registers. That's what I noticed, especially in the boss fight that they teased from GameSpot. There's no oomph. Like, I don't feel like I'm hitting the boss. So that could be reason enough for me to not pick up the game, but I'm very interested to see what Souls-like fans think of this game, because Black Myth Wukong, it was up there with games last year that should have won Game of the Year. It didn't, because Jeff Keighley is in love with Sony. But this one, up there as well. So we'll see what happens. It's one that I'm looking forward to. But to see if that oomph is just a poor capture of the game, or if that's really what it is. If the developers favored fluidity over, like, it's tough to quantify for you, but just feeling like you're hitting something. We'll see what happens. Okay, so that's 3 of the 6. The next one I want to talk about is Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. This one is basically Final Fantasy Tactics I don't want to say remake, but remastery. It was probably a better term for it. Final Fantasy Tactics was a game-breaking game. Or not game-breaking, but industry-setting game from Square at the time. And it is a strategy game. It is It is XCOM before XCOM. It is Pokemon Conquest before Pokemon Conquest. This is a very, very good game. It is coming out September 30th. Oh, by the way, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, I forgot to mention. This comes out July 24th. So there you go. But Final Fantasy Tactics, The Ivalice Chronicles. This one comes out September 30th for everything. PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo Switch 2, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And this is one, if I had money, I'd definitely get. Just so I could play through it again. This game is fantastic. It is so much fun. They've remastered it. Remastered is not really... They've polished it. There, that's a better way to say it. They polished the game and brought it to a more modern audience with updated graphics. It runs at 60 FPS if you care about that. I don't. But this is definitely one to get. This is a really fun game and definitely worth looking into. Comes out September 30th. Another one I'm looking forward to-ish, because I have Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass, whatever you want to call it, The Outer Worlds 2. This is a day one release for that subscription, so I won't have to pay anything extra for it. It comes out October 24th. And The Outer Worlds is a very interesting Fallout-like game that doesn't take itself seriously. It's a more funny game than Fallout. So, The Outer Worlds 2 coming out in October. It's been in development, and it's had help from Halo devs. And what's interesting about that is they wanted to make the gunplay better than what they had in the first game. So for me, in that first game, it ended a little too quickly for me. There was a lot of side quests, a lot of tertiary stuff you could do, but it didn't really have any sort of effect on the main storyline. Kind of like Skyrim in a way. But Skyrim was so unique when it came out that nobody cared. Like, you could finish the main storyline of Skyrim in like 16 hours. You could blast through that game. But then you have people like me that have hundreds of hours in Skyrim because I keep going around trying to find other stuff to do. You could do that in the Outer Worlds 1. You just didn't need to. So we'll see if that changes in this new one. But Outer Worlds 2, this one, I don't have a review for you on it yet, obviously, because it doesn't come out for another 3 months. But if I were to give you a preview on this one, I would say wait for it to go on sale, or if you have PC Game Pass or Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, get it there. And then if you like it enough, purchase the game itself so you can support the developers. But this one is an interesting one. I don't know how much time I'm going to dedicate to this one when it comes out, but it's definitely one that I'm looking forward to in a year of games that isn't necessarily all that great. And with AAA game studios doing massive layoffs, games flopping on their faces because... Okay, here's another thing. Ubisoft, and it's tangent time, but Ubisoft, the CEO of Ubisoft, I'm not even going to name him, he's such an idiot, recently said that gamers like microtransactions because it enhances the gameplay and the story of the game they're playing. In what world does that make a lick of sense? Who did you hear that from? Your kid? Who doesn't have to pay for that because his dad is the CEO of the company? Are you kidding me? No, I don't want microtransaction doors. I don't want a paywall in front of me that will keep me from experiencing the totality of the game that should have been finished when it launched. Not hidden behind a paywall of DLC. Not hidden behind a paywall of a season pass or of I don't even know what to call it, like a content pass where if I play X amount of hours, I unlock this new weapon. No, that is so stupid. I hate where Ubisoft has gone. They have taken the template of EA and then just went so far beyond anything EA has done that they are now the dumbest publishers in the industry. Hands down, bar none, worse than EA. EA has been the evil empire since I worked at GameStop in 2010. That is such a stupid take. I cannot believe it. So, suffice it enough to say, I probably will not be picking up another Ubisoft game for a long time. The last one I picked up was Assassin's Creed Shadows. But before that, I didn't really pick up anything since like The Division 2. So my advice to you, Spelunkers, is avoid Ubisoft games like the plague. I know it's not the game developer's fault. It is not anyone who works on those games' fault. They have to answer to an ignoramus in the CEO. So, if you work for Ubisoft, I'm so sorry. Get out of there. Go work for a AA company or an indie company and chase your passion there. I know a couple of people that absolutely adore the Assassin's Creed series that have worked on it before and continue to work in that studio because of that game series. But you got to it's tough. Working in the AAA game industry right now is nigh unto impossible because of the idiocy of the people running those studios. It is unbelievable. Anyway, let's rewind back to The Outer Worlds 2. I know that was a really, really long... that was a really long walk for a short drink of water. I'm sorry. But Outer Worlds 2, if you have the Game Pass subscriptions, get it. If you don't, wait for reviews. But definitely play The Outer Worlds 1. That is one that is a buy it. And it's not even that expensive right now. I mean, objectively. It's $39.99. But it's definitely worth it. And now the last one... Pokémon Legends. I call it Z Alpha, but it's ZA. Z as in zoo, A as in alpha. This one's coming out October 16th. I am looking forward to this immensely because it is an open world game set in the Pokemon X and Y universe, I guess you could say. And that one was the first ever 3D Pokemon experience. It wasn't top-down. It was a third-person experience. You were behind your character as opposed to above them looking down. And the battle environment, the battles for the Pokemon were 3D. It wasn't like the Game Boy or the DS where it was, you have the behind view of yours and the front view of the other, and maybe they bounced back and forth a little bit, and that was the animation. Pokemon X and Y was the first one to be a 3D experience. It was also the first one on the 3DS, so there you go. But this is very interesting because it was also the first one. I mean, technically Black and White was this too, but where it didn't have the third game. So everyone assumed at the time, myself included, that after X and Y came out, they were going to make a Pokemon Z. It makes sense, right? X, Y, Z. They even had the legendary Pokemon to back up that, Zygarde. You had Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. Well, Zygarde is there it is. That's your legendary for the cover art. And if it were to follow in the footsteps of the games before it, it would be a combination of X and Y. It'd be the same story, but it would have a combination of stuff. It would probably improve a couple of the mechanics, and it would combine some Pokemon that you would originally have to trade for. Just like in Emerald and Platinum and Crystal before it. Not the case. Flash forward about 10 years now, and we have Pokemon Legends ZA, or as I call it, Z Alpha. So this one is following in the footsteps of Pokemon Legends Arceus, where if you're a Pokemon fan and you haven't played that, what are you doing? Go get that game, play it. It's fantastic. And I have a problem with a lot of people here. Pokemon is always going to be Pokemon. I understand that you want it to innovate, that you want it to change. But let's look back at a couple of beloved series that have tried to innovate and change. First up, Halo. Oh boy, there's a lot of innovation and change in that series. What has it gotten it? Nothing. Call of Duty. Let's go to like Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3. They tried to innovate in those. Those are two of the most hated Call of Duty games ever. So Pokemon is the most successful franchise in history, in media. Movies, TV shows, games, plushies, card games, board games, you name it, it's Pokemon. You don't want to break a good thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's what Pokemon does. And so the big complaint everybody has is, oh, the graphics stink. They haven't come a far enough way. Oh, look at the grass. It is so great. Air quotes, like /S for sarcasm. Get over it, man. As a Pokemon fan of the last 30 plus years, almost, I don't care. The mini updates that they do with each iteration is more than enough for me. The fact that they continue to make these games and they remain as popular as ever, if not more so, is good enough for me. Other games that I enjoyed growing up, NFL Quarterback Club, that is long gone. Stuff like Extreme G Racing, remember that one on the N64? Where you were in motorbikes, but it was like Mario Kart, where you got like lasers and rockets and shields. Long gone. Wave Race, long gone. Mega Man, long gone. Pokemon's still around. So shut up. That's what I really want to say, is shut up. So, for me, Pokemon Legends Z Alpha or ZA coming out October 16th for the 2 Switch systems. Hopefully, by then, there will be a second generation or second iteration of the Switch 2 that will fix a lot of the problems that the first wave of systems have. And that's probably when, if I get a job, hopefully, knock on wood, I'm clacking on my skull here, knock on wood, that will fix a lot of the problems and we'll be good to go there. I'm getting it. So there you go. 6 games coming out in a year that everyone thought might not be a great year. There's 6 games there that a lot of people will enjoy. One of them I won't be getting, Gears of War, but if you're interested in the series, interested in the game, you're old enough now, get it. But then the other ones that I'm absolutely getting, Borderlands 4, Pokemon Legends, Final Fantasy Tactics, those are absolute gets for me. The Outer Worlds 2 is one that I'll be getting because I have PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass. And then Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, that one I will be watching streamers play it. If it looks like something I would enjoy and I get a job, I will be getting that as well. Thank you all so much for being here this week. Ran a little bit over there. I had a lot of tangents, a lot of rants. But thank you for being here. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. Share this with one person that you think would enjoy it. And I'll see you next week when we spelunk back into the Matt Cave. Happy July 24th again to all you Utahns.